Okay, this is going to be I guess, another topic video. Something I've been wanting to do for a while. Actually, it's been on my mind for some time, but I've just never got around to doing it. To put enough thought into it to do it, basically. So here it is. Hopefully, it's an enjoyable video. It's certainly going to be quite enjoyable to make. I would hope. Talk about some of my favourite matches of all time. So. Yeah, obviously, as you can see from the title, it's going to be my top 5 WWE matches of all time. Now, normally I'm not so big on countdown lists or anything like that. I think it's just too difficult to give something a number in relation to where it stands in history. But these are my top 5 matches in WWE history. So I'm sure, like I say, 99.9% of people who watch this video, I'm sure their list will differ from mine. That's just the way it is. That's why I love professional wrestling, because it is a matter of opinion, and it always will be. So something that I love, somebody else might not think anything of it whatsoever. So that's fine. That's not a problem to me. Like I say, this is my top 5. So. It's based on numerous things, really. Obviously, match quality, the actual wrestling, the crowd, how into it the crowd were, how into it I was, how much it meant, whether it meant something. So yeah, all those things taken into context and sort of muddled together and blended into one gives me the result of the match. So. That's my criteria anyway, so I'm just going to crack on. I'm going to try and make sure it's not too long of a video, so and not go into too much detail. Obviously, if you want to watch the matches, they're all out there, easily viewable. So, but I'm sure most people that are watching this video have seen all of these matches anyway. So, number 1, or should I say number 5? I'm going to go from 5 down to 1. Number 5 is Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect from SummerSlam 1991. This match took place in Madison Square Garden, New York City, which is one plus for this match straight away. The crowd were so into this match, unbelievably into it. Really behind Bret, really wanted him to pull off what was deemed at the time to be the upset. Bret had not long started his singles career, so he was obviously on a sort of a mini push, if you like, at this point. And this was a fantastic match. Just great technical wrestling, drama. As I say, the crowd was so into it. The pop that the crowd sort of exploded with when Bret kicked out the Perfect Plex was, well, it was deafening, to be honest. Just like I say, just a great match, great drama, great commentary from Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, and Roddy Piper was on commentary as well for this event. Just everything blended together. I absolutely love. I've always loved this match. They had a match that was nearly as good as this, actually, at King of the Ring '93, the King of the Ring that Bret won, and it makes it even more unbelievable. The SummerSlam match that Perfect was barely able to walk. He was really struggling with a back injury, and he gave Bret absolutely everything that he had in the tank. Everything, he left it all out there. He made Bret look $1 million. Not that he couldn't have done anyway, because Bret was obviously really coming into his own as a singles guy at this point. After sort of drifting off from tag team wrestling. But I can remember obviously watching this at the time. I would have been maybe 7 years old, and Bret is my favourite wrestler of all time, always has been, for many different reasons really. But when I was a kid at the time, when I was 6-7 years old, he was always my favourite wrestler, because when he was getting smashed, when he was getting beaten up, he always drew the most sympathy from me, more sympathy than Hulk would get from me, more sympathy than Warrior when they were getting beat down. Bret always got the most sympathy out of me. He always made it look as though He really was suffering out there, and really, really forced the fans to get behind him, and that's why I've always regarded Brett as the best worker of all time, in my opinion. And yeah, he did get beaten down for a lot of this match, so the crowd in Madison Square Garden really got behind him, really wanted to see a title switch. I think this was the defining match for Brett. It really told Vince and showed him that, you know, he has got something in Brett as a singles guy. At the time, I don't think anybody envisaged that he'd be the WWF champion and go on to have the career that he did as a singles guy, but this was certainly the launching pad. The one minor niggle I've got with this match, and to be honest, it irks me every time I watch the match, I've seen it so many times, is that when Brett puts the sharpshooter on at the end, that the ref, I think it was Earl Hebner, the ref, he rings the bell too soon. He ends the match too soon. I think he could have left the sharpshooter on for maybe 20 to 30 seconds and let the crowd really sort of get on the feet and get into it and watch Perfect suffer before tapping. But literally the second that he got the sharpshooter locked in, he called for the bell, and I think it was just a little, maybe, like I say, even if it had just been 10 seconds the sharpshooter was on for, a sustained sort of period of time, I think it would have just added that little bit more. But like I say, it's a minor niggle, nitpicking really. Unbelievably brilliant match. One of my favourite matches from my childhood. So yeah, that's number 5. Number 4, I think this one will probably cause the most controversy. It's going to be John Cena versus CM Punk from Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago. Now, this is a tough one, really. In my opinion, this is the best match of the modern era. I say the best match, the best overall match. The technical wrestling, I'll be the first to admit, the technical wrestling was not great. There was, you know, maybe 4 or 5 sort of clear botches involving both guys. I think this was one of their earlier matches. I'm not sure if they'd even touched before this. So obviously they were still getting used to each other's in-ring work. They've gone on to have probably better technical matches. The match on Raw 2 weeks ago was better technically, definitely. That was almost as good. That was a phenomenal match. The match on Raw from a couple of weeks ago. But it was just the whole drama, the whole story going into Money in the Bank, combined with what was still a fantastic match. If anything, the botches maybe added a little bit of drama to it. But yeah, the story going in, Punk's sort of worked shoot on Raw, and the whole turning down the contract, leaving, I'm going to leave with the WWE title, John Cena's career's on the line, everything rolled into one package. The crowd, that's just only every once in a blue moon do you get a crowd that good. One night stand, Money in the Bank, obviously, and yeah, it was just, like I say, in my opinion, it is the best overall match of the modern era of wrestling since, well, certainly since PG era came back into force, into effect. And I'm trying to think beyond that, what was the better match? Probably, it's at least the best match for the last 5 years, in my opinion. So yeah, like I say, Cena did a great job, made Punk look great, put him over, and the whole end to the show with Del Rio coming out and Punk leaving through the crowd, it was just brilliantly done, brilliantly executed by everybody involved. Cena, Punk, Laurinaitis, Vince, just brilliant stuff, fantastic. Still gives me goosebumps. So yeah, that's my number 4. Number 3 is another Bret Hart match. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13. Again in Chicago. One of my favourite feuds of all time. Now, this was from 1997, when at a time when Bret Hart had a hell of a lot going on, feud-wise. He had the Stone Cold feud, he had the feud with Shawn Michaels, he had a sort of a feud going on with Undertaker as well for the WWF Championship. But I always liked the Stone Cold feud more than the Shawn Michaels feud, and also more than any of the US versus Canada stuff that they had going on at the same time as well. To me, this was just two sort of strong-minded, strong-willed wrestlers going head-to-head. Two bulls who didn't want to... Both of them believed 100% in what they were saying and what they were doing, and neither of them wanted to back down or give an inch, and it made for an absolutely enthralling feud, in my opinion. One of the best feuds in history of wrestling, definitely. Obviously started before Bret came back in 1996 with Stone Cold sort of calling him out and saying that he was the best in the world, Bret wasn't. They had a great match at Survivor Series 96, and obviously the feud carried on through the early part of early part of 1997, and culminated in a no holds barred submission match at WrestleMania 13 from Chicago. And this is a match that really, in my opinion, defined the Attitude Era. It really did. It was brutal. It was bloody. The crowd were absolutely so into this match. It was untrue, so loud all the way through the match. And this is one of the most important matches in wrestling history. It really is. I mean, because if the crowd hadn't flipped and turned Austin face at this point, would he have gotten to where he got to? Would the whole Bret Hart heel turn have come about? You just never know. The crowd basically decided everything in this match. They decided that they were going to cheer for Austin. He was the guy that they were going to get behind, and it was time for a change of attitude, and this just further enhanced the Attitude Era, and yeah, which makes it to me a landmark match in the history of professional wrestling. So, and obviously everybody knows the iconic image of Stone Cold refusing to tap and passing out to the sharpshooter at the end of the match, covered in blood. An image that will last forever. So, yeah, a brilliant match, brilliant wrestling, brilliant brawling, brilliant story. One of the best matches of all time, in my opinion. That's number 3. Number 2 will be Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior from WrestleMania 6 from Toronto, Canada. Now, similar to the match I had at number 5, Bret and Perfect, this is probably my favourite match from my childhood. I would have been maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time, and I absolutely loved both of these guys. I loved Hogan. I was a Hogan mark, and then Warrior burst on the scene, and I sort of got behind him as well. And this is the first time I can ever remember not knowing who I wanted to win in a wrestling match. It was always Hogan fighting against evil, if you like. King Kong, whether it be King Kong Bundy, Orndorff, Andre, DiBiase, whoever it was, it was always clear who I was meant to cheer for as a Hogan fan. And then this match came along, and this sort of feud came along, and it was like, it was something, it was groundbreaking, it really was. It was way ahead of its time. It was a situation where they just put both guys out there, and they were going to let the crowd decide who they wanted to cheer for. They weren't going to try and engineer anything. They weren't going to try and force the crowd in one direction or another. They were just going to put the two guys out there and let let the cards fall as they would. And to be honest, the crowd was so into this match. It was, this match is so close to being number one. This is what professional wrestling is all about, in my opinion. It's the drama. It's the fact that Hogan and Warrior, for the first 5 minutes of the match, just barely touched. All they did was stare down. They did a test of strength, and the crowd were reacting as though it was the last 5 minutes of an epic 30-minute match. It was unbelievable. I love the fact that they were mirroring each other's moves at the start. How they did the crossover. One guy dropped down, the other guy jumped over and then did a body slam, and they both did it one after the other. It was sort of mimicking each other's moves, if you like. This match is way ahead of its time. Back then, I loved it because it was, like I say, it was all the drama that went into it, and it was the story and the fact that Hogan and Warrior weren't supposed to have a match. They were supposed to be sort of best friends. They were supposed to be fighting together against evil. And when this feud started at the Royal Rumble, even at the Royal Rumble, the crowd were going mental. When they did the little cameo at the end of the Royal Rumble. So, but even so, I watched this match the other day before doing this video, and it still holds up as a dramatic roller coaster of a match. False finishes, ref bumps. Like I say, this match was way ahead of its time in terms of right up till the end. You just didn't know who was going to win, and that is the beauty of this match. You did not know who was going to win, and at the same time, I can only speak for myself, but I didn't know who I wanted to win, which was just as important. And obviously when Warrior came out on top and sort of a passing of the torch by Hogan, it obviously went downhill after that. Warrior couldn't draw shit, to be honest, and he was a massive letdown as champion. And eventually the belt found its way back to Hogan, as it always did. But for that short time that this feud was going, it was just electric. It was brilliant to look back on as well. It's still, like I say, it still holds up to this day. So that's number 2. Very close to being number 1, but number 2 on my list. Which leads me on to number 1. My favourite match in WWE history, WWF history or whatever, and also my favourite wrestling match of all time, and that is Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit from the Royal Rumble 2003 in Boston. Just like I say, there's not a great deal I want to say about it. I'm sure everybody's seen it, and like I say, in my opinion, this is the best match I've ever seen. And I've been watching wrestling for 22, 23 years, all types of wrestling, and this still holds up as the best match I've ever seen. I can remember watching it at the time, and it didn't ring true quite to that extent at the time. I can remember thinking I'd seen something really special, a match that I can remember thinking at the time, I can't remember the last time I saw a match that good. And then I watched it, obviously, through the years, as time has passed. I've watched it so many times. I've seen this match at least, I'd say 20, 25 times maybe, because it still gets me every single time. It gives me goosebumps every single time I watch this match. This is why I love wrestling. It really is, and it's a complete dichotomy to Hogan and Warrior. That was for the drama, the story. This is for the pure athletic, just wrestling at its purest. That's what this is. It's pure professional wrestling. This is about as real as professional wrestling can get without being MMA, in my opinion. Basically, that's what this is. It's tight, it's stiff, brutal suplexes, trading German suplexes, belly to back suplexes, Benoit's fucking headbutt. I swear every time I watch this match, I don't know how he made that headbutt. That was at least 3/4 of the way across the ring, towards the end of the match as well. of it, like 25 minutes into a match. The false finishes at the end, the switching of submissions, and the crowd were really behind Benoit. I can remember watching at the time thinking, this is it, this is the time for Benoit to be champion, and obviously they overlooked him again and passed him over again, and he didn't win it for another year at WrestleMania 2004, but that's another story anyway. But Angle was really suffering at the time with injuries. He obviously took a fair bit of time off after he dropped the title to Lesnar at WrestleMania of the same year. So, but you would never have thought it. Both guys left absolutely everything out there. Benoit famously got the standing ovation. After the match, Angle went to the back. Benoit was left in the ring, and he got a standing ovation from the crowd, commentators, and yeah. So that says it all, really. Like I say, my two wrestlers, maybe two of the top 5 wrestlers of all time, pure wrestlers, just putting everything into a match, and just absolutely magical match. So my favourite match in WWE history and in professional wrestling history as well. So that's my list. If you want to make a video response, feel free. Obviously, it's a topic that I'd love to hear people's opinions on. So cheers for watching. See you later. Bye.